moving on to the animals. Well, first of all, what are the long, thin, tube-like structures that make up most of the fungus's body? Mycelium. Good. Okay. All right. Know in general what makes up an animal. So, what are some key characteristics of an animal? They are all eukaryotes. They are all multicellular organisms. They are ingestive heterotrophs, and they have some specialized cells like nerve cells and muscle cells. Right, so all of these characteristics are only found in animals.
When you say ingestive heterotroph, is that the same as just heterotroph? Or?
Ingestive different from absorptive.
Oh, okay.
So ingestive means you put food into your body and then you digest it.
Gotcha.
Right, so just know the basic characteristics of animals. I could ask a question like, which of the following is true for all animals? They are endothermic, they have hair, they breathe oxygen through lungs, they are all multicellular.
All multicellular.
Yeah. Yeah, so just in general know like what is a key characteristic for all animals. All right, development. I'm not sure if I have any questions related to this. I don't think I do. I mean, if you want to be on the safe side, you can study some of this, but if you don't have the time or energy to study this, don't worry too much about it, because I don't remember if I have any questions related to this. But I mean, in general, it's just the different stages of development: zygotes, blastula, gastrula. And then we have the two different forms, the deuterostomes. The first opening is the anus, the protostomes, first opening is the mouth, that stuff.
We're the deuterostomes, right?
Huh?
We're deuterostomes.
Oh yeah, we are definitely deuterostomes. Explains quite a lot. All right, this would also be a pretty good slide to study. Know in general, which of these animals belong in which of these clades or categories, and know the key characteristics of each of the categories. So all members within here are going to have bilateral symmetry. Everything above that is going to be radial symmetry. The only thing up here that doesn't have true tissues are sponges. So this will be a pretty good slide to study. All right, or you can just go through this because I think this summarizes everything too. So sponges, the simplest of all animals, they are all suspension filter feeders. They are all sessile, meaning they can't swim or move really. And the key characteristic is they do not have true tissues. So just to let you know, for the animal unit, I'll probably have one of those match the animal group with its description. So I'll give you like a little animal word bank and then ask you to mix and match which one belongs in which description. So it'll probably be something like that. So within that, I could have like sponges as one of the categories, and one of the questions would be like, which of these doesn't have true tissues?
Oh, okay.
It'll be sponges. What just happened? All right, cnidarians. So cnidarians are all stinging. They have tentacles with stingers, and they all alternate between a sessile polyp and a free-swimming medusa form. So that would be their key characteristic, along with their nematocysts, which are these stinging cells. All right, flatworms. Generally speaking, most flatworms are parasitic, but not all of them. There are still some free-living flatworms, like the one that you guys saw in lab, but kind of like this. But most of the flatworms have a parasitic lifestyle, and they also have multiple different hosts. So remember, we have the definitive host and the intermediate hosts. So keep that in mind. Flatworms have multiple hosts, usually. Tapeworms, also an example of flatworms. You don't have to know the life cycles of these guys. This is just for information. All right, nematodes. Remember, these are the roundworms. A lot of them are parasitic, not all of them. And also, they have a external exoskeleton, or cuticle, very similar to the arthropods, actually. All right, mollusks. Remember, mollusks have a three-part body plan. They have the muscular foot, they have the visceral mass, and they have the mantle. And they're all soft-bodied organisms. And I'll know the different categories of the mollusks, too. So, for example, gastropods, the stomach foot, they are things like snails and slugs. have their large foot and their stomach right above. We have the bivalves, which are the clams and oysters and things like that have two shell halves that enclose the visceral mass. And we have the cephalopods, which are the head foot, which means that they have a very enlarged head, highly intelligent, and their feet are modified into tentacles. Right, so I'll go the basic categories of those. Next, we have the polychaete worms. So polychaete worms in general have these little hair-like structures called setae. They're mostly marine worms. And we have these little subcategories of them. Earthworms and leeches, they all belong in the same category, the annelid worms in general. So this is actually what I want to focus on. So annelids, it's a phylum. These are all the segmented worms. If you look at like the nematodes, they're not segmented, they're just a round worm. But these guys have segments, and they all have these tiny little hair-like structures called setae. And that includes earthworms and leeches, along with these guys. So know that all three of these types of worms belong in the same annelid category. Right, so earthworms, they eat soil. These guys are either predatory or they drink blood. Arthropods, these are the most diverse group of all animals, and know these three characteristics. They're all segmented, they all have a hard exoskeleton, and they all have jointed appendages. Right, and also know the four major groups of arthropods: the chelicerates, centipedes and millipedes, crustaceans, and insects. So chelicerates, remember, they have a two-part body plan, with the head and the abdomen. They have 4 pairs of walking legs. They have a pair of fangs called chelicera, and they also have a pair of pedipalps. Right, so know some of the members of this group. That includes the horseshoe crabs and the arachnids. All right, next we have the many-legged arthropods, which includes the millipedes and the centipedes. So we have the centipedes. They have flattened bodies. Each segment only has 1 pair of legs. And we have the millipedes, which have the round cylindrical bodies, and each segment has 2 pairs of legs. Next, we have the crustaceans. These are mostly marine arthropods, and they have like a very hard exoskeleton, mostly made of calcium carbonate. And finally, we have the insects, which are the most diverse group of all of the arthropods. In fact, 75% of all animals are insects. Know the general body plan of an insect. We have a head, thorax, and abdomen. We have 3 pairs of walking legs and 1 pair of antennae. Yes?
So is the test going to be like a description then?
Yeah, it'll be a description. I won't give a picture. It's going to have like a description of some key characteristics, and I'll ask you to match the organism to the description.
Okay.
So like in a word bank, it'll say like you're looking at an organism that has 3 body parts, has a pair of antennae, and 3 pairs of walking legs. What is this organism? It'll be an insect.
Okay.
Yeah, so something like that. In general, if you can match their description with their name, then you should be good. That's also one of the reasons why I asked you to do the journal assignment for the safari park, because the description that you guys are making is basically looking at these characteristics. So that should have hopefully helped a little bit. All right, echinoderms. These are the pentaradial organisms. They have 5 rows of tube feet, and they have a water vascular system for moving. Right, so all members have 5 rows of tube feet. And some members would be the starfish, the brittle star or basket star, the sea urchins, sand dollars, and sea cucumbers.